Welcome back to another episode of Jazz's Mini Pod. This week we're doing something a little bit different. I have my camera going and we are putting this up on YouTube. So if you're someone who likes to be a little more visual and watch it versus listen to it, it's up on my YouTube channel. I will link it below in the podcast show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, what is up? It's so good to see you. This week's episode, we're going to dive right into intuitive eating. This was a topic that was highly requested, and I think it's a topic that oftentimes it gets very confusing and the lines are very blurred, and I wanted to share my perspective on the growth and the journey of intuitive eating and kind of how I have evolved through the years. And I wanted to share some practical tips that might help you get out of the diet culture and then tune into your own hunger cubes. So what exactly is intuitive eating? It's rejecting the idea of diet culture and then tuning into our hunger cues and kind of making peace with food. So right now I have a 5-month-old daughter and I am teaching her how to be intuitive about her eating as we are introducing solids. And oftentimes as adults, we totally forget how to do this. And so I'm taking a course on this, and it's so silly that we have to take courses on this to make sure that she's not eating when she's full and that she's respecting herself. And we forget all of this with all of the diet culture talk. And my personal journey is that I was a vegetarian a long time ago, and then that evolved to be a vegan. I tried low carb. We started labeling food as good and bad, and it wasn't anything that I was doing intentionally, but it's just through social media, the internet, what you see online, all of that can kind of contort your brain and get you thinking in a way that you don't even want to think. So it's not just women, it's men too. I talk with my husband about this all the time. And so I want to share with you just a few tips that you could take into every day, apply it, and start your journey with intuitive eating. Okay, tip number 1. Eating mindfully. So what does this mean? It just means sit down and eat without technology or distractions. It's so hard because usually we take the time to sit and eat while we catch up on emails, text messages, watch a show, whatever it may be. But you want to try to limit those distractions so you can really tune in on the hunger cues. You chew each bite, you savor each bite, you think about the flavors, you pay attention to the textures, and you see how your body responds. So that was my tip number 1, eating mindfully. Tip number 2 is plan balanced meals. So include a variety of different meals into your daily life, into your day, to be able to get all the different nutrients. So you can focus on balanced portions of protein, fat, and carbohydrates. And it doesn't mean that each meal needs to be protein, fat, carbohydrates. But for example, if you're having a smoothie for breakfast and you can pack in spinach, kale, fresh fruit, some healthy fats like avocado, some protein powder, amazing. Maybe for lunch you have a big bowl of pasta and that's all good because you got some greens in the morning, you know? So balanced meals. You got to plan them out in your head, and this will help you feel satiated. Tip number 3, tune into your cravings. When you're craving something, I don't want you to ignore it. What happens is when we ignore our hunger cravings, then we end up binging. Oh, we can't have that chocolate. 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 On the 5th day, you're like, I'm going to eat that chocolate and I'm going to eat 5 times more than I was going to eat if I would have just had that square of chocolate from the very beginning. So tune into those cravings. Oftentimes also, cravings tell us what we might be needing, what our body might be needing. So maybe there's a certain nutrient in chocolate that your body is craving. So allow yourself to enjoy the foods that you crave in moderation without guilt. Have a bite, put it aside. This takes practice, but you can do it. Tip number 4 is practice hunger cues. So this is a little practice that you could do. You could rate your hunger on a scale from 1 to 10 before and after meals. So right before you eat, you can think about it. Am I hungry? 1, not being hungry at all. 10 being starving. And then aim to start eating when you're moderately hungry. So instead of waiting until you're absolutely starved to eat, this can cause you to overeat a little bit. You could eat when you're moderately hungry, and then you can stop when you're comfortably full. So comfortably full might mean like 3 or 4, because it takes our body about 20 minutes to actually understand, give our body the cues of, okay, I'm feeling full, I'm good. I'm Gucci, I can move on. So this is a great way to kind of put it into practice, is you can just sit down with yourself. And of course, it's even better if you do this without distraction. And then the next tip is to stay hydrated. Oftentimes our body says that we think we're hungry, but we're actually just thirsty. So drink water throughout the day, stay hydrated. Thirst can totally be misconstrued for hunger. I have my Big Stanley. I carry this thing everywhere. It's amazing, and it keeps your water cold. You can sip it with the straw. It has a really lovely handle. If you're just listening to it, I'm just showing you what my water bottle looks like. I'll link that down below as well. It's really great. But stay hydrated. And then my last tip is create a positive environment. So surround yourself with an environment that will help you succeed. If you yourself know that every time you open a bag of chips, you cannot control it, you absolutely cannot control it, then don't keep the bag of chips around. It's just as easy as that. You gotta minimize the distractions and minimize those triggers that might get you to overeating or overindulgence, right? It's as simple as that. So until you feel strong enough, you just minimize that. I feel pretty good with intuitive eating, so does my husband, but we know that when we get that bag of pretzels or when we get that bag of chips, nothing wrong with that. But when we get that, sometimes we just can't control it, so sometimes we don't have it in the house. I feel like you just think about what triggers you. Maybe it's that carton of ice cream. Maybe it's I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Whatever it is, just think about what it is. Minimize the trigger. Decision fatigue, or making that decision to consciously not have whatever you're trying to limit, that can be something that you can take out of your environment so that you're more successful. So remember that intuitive eating is about finding what works best for each individual. So these practical tips were just meant to help you a little bit and kind of set a foundation for your journey, but ultimately it's about tuning into your unique needs and preferences. Just embrace yourself, embrace the ups and downs. Some days are going to be great, some days are going to be a little bit harder as you get started, but use these tips to kind of help you, elevate you, and just develop a little better of a relationship with food. Anyway, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next one.